All right, let's dive into Discover Your Freedom by Jose Beakers. This book, it really pushes us to rethink like our entire reality.
Hmm, it's quite the journey.
Yeah, and today we're going to try to unpack some of the most interesting insights from it, especially this whole idea of shifting from like a programmed, kind of limited mindset. Beakers calls it the matrix,
Yeah,
to a state of authentic free consciousness, which is, she calls, the master consciousness.
right.
There's a lot to unpack there, but what really stood out to me, and maybe we can just jump right into this, is how the book just completely dismantles this idea that we are just our thoughts and emotions and the roles that we play.
It really flips the script, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
instead of identifying with all that surface stuff, the thoughts, the emotions, the roles, Beaker's saying, no, 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 your true essence, it's pure consciousness.
And then she introduces this idea of the matrix, and it's almost like the operating system that keeps us trapped in that limited way of thinking, right?
Exactly. Think of the Matrix as this reality that's totally based on linear time, like we're always chasing the next thing.
Mm.
And it's driven by needing validation from others, constantly seeking approval.
Mm.
And it thrives on this belief in limitations and lack. So you're always feeling like you're striving for something you don't have. It's like we're all living out a pre-programmed script, you
Hmm.
know, instead of consciously creating our own reality.
And she uses her own story in the book to kind of bring this to life. She talks about going from this fascination with human behavior to this super successful career in IT.
Yeah, she was really in the thick of it.
But then eventually she finds herself battling depression and burnout. And it's through exploring things like NLP and alternative therapies that she starts to break free from her own personal matrix.
And that personal journey, it really adds weight to her critique of traditional therapy models. The ones that just focus on replacing negative thoughts with positive ones.
Yeah, just kind of putting a Band-Aid on it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Biggers is arguing that this approach, it keeps us stuck in the same limited framework. You're just rearranging the furniture inside the matrix instead of stepping outside of it entirely.
So then, okay, if the matrix is this limited reality, what does it actually look like to break free? What does this master consciousness actually feel like?
Okay, well, imagine shifting from a state of constantly doing to simply being. That's a key characteristic of the master consciousness. It's about being present in the now, this sense of abundance,
Mhm.
and having this like deep power to consciously shape your reality.
And she has this table in the book that I thought was so helpful. It really lays out the differences between the two. Like in the Matrix, it's all about action and reaction, cause and effect. But the master consciousness, it operates from a state of being. You act from inner certainty instead of these external pressures.
That's a really important distinction.
It is. And in the Matrix, it's all about these external structures and power dynamics, like who has authority over whom. But with master consciousness, you experience this inherent freedom and unity. It sees the interconnectedness rather than hierarchy,
Let's
right?
start to see the bigger picture.
Yeah, you see how everything's kind of woven together. And there is even this contrast between like troubleshooting in the matrix, always trying to fix problems, versus consciously choosing in the master consciousness. So instead of just reacting to whatever life throws at you, you become the architect of your
It's
experience.
a really empowering shift.
It is. And then she even takes it a step further and says that creativity itself is a natural expression of the master consciousness. She talks about her own experience with art as like a form of alchemy, almost like she's moving energy and bringing creations to life through her painting. It's like tapping into a source of creation that just flows through you rather than trying to force it or control it, right?
It's about surrendering to that creative flow.
Exactly. So then the big question becomes, how do we actually make this shift from the matrix to the master consciousness? Like, where do we even begin?
Well, thankfully, the book provides some really practical tools and techniques.
Mhm.
One of the most important ones is meditation, and not just for relaxation. Beakers emphasizes using meditation to really observe your thoughts without judgment and to expand your awareness and connect with that deeper consciousness that's already within you.
And then there's this other tool that I found really fascinating, peripheral perception.
Ah, yeah.
Have you ever heard of this?
It's about breaking free from that tunnel vision, that narrow focus that we often get stuck in. So imagine expanding your awareness to take in your entire field of vision, not just what's right in front of you.
Yeah, that's trippy.
It is. It is. It's about experiencing the interconnectedness of everything. You start to see the energy in the space around objects rather than just the objects themselves.
That's incredible. It's like upgrading from like a standard definition TV to high definition panoramic view of reality.
It really is. And Beakers also highlights the importance of conscious breathing techniques. Again, not just for relaxation, but to actually shift your energy and connect with that master consciousness within.
Okay, so it's more than just taking a deep breath when you're stressed.
Much more. Think of it like tuning a radio. You know, when you shift your energetic frequency through conscious breathing, you tune into a different reality, one that's more aligned with the master consciousness. And the book actually provides specific exercises, like you gradually expand your breath and visualize it moving through your body, and this helps to release any blocked energy and tap into this deeper state of being.
Interesting. And there are a couple other techniques that I have to admit kind of blew my mind when I first read about them.
Oh, I'm curious. What were they?
Okay, so first, there's timeline work. Imagine visualizing your life not as this rigid straight line, but as a field of possibilities.
Oh, that's a powerful shift in perspective.
Isn't it? So that's the essence of timeline work. Detaching from this fixed timeline so that you can access new choices.
It really challenges that whole idea that the past determines the future.
Totally. And then there's this other technique called energetic past transformation. And with this one, you actually revisit past experiences with this new awareness, this master consciousness, to release any negative energy or limiting beliefs that might be holding you back. It's like going back and rewriting your story, but with a fresh perspective.
It's like giving yourself a do-over, but on an energetic level.
Exactly. And what I find so fascinating about all of these techniques is that they're not just about thinking differently. They're about shifting your energetic frequency, which is how you actually begin to experience a different reality.
It's about aligning your energy with the reality you want to create.
Precisely. And the book doesn't stop there. It even touches upon some pretty fascinating future implications.
Oh, this is where it gets really interesting.
Beakers suggests that as more individuals make this shift to master consciousness, we'll start to see a societal transformation. We're talking decentralized structures, new energy sources, a real focus on individual sovereignty. It's like we're on the verge of a massive upgrade, not just personally, but collectively.
It's about moving beyond the limitations of our current systems and structures, which, as Beakers points out, are often based on these really outdated ways of thinking and being.
Yeah, it's time for a system reboot. But I'm sure our listeners are probably thinking, okay, this is all incredibly inspiring, but what does this actually mean for me, for my everyday life? Like how do we actually start to apply these ideas?
That's a great question, and one that we're going to explore in more depth as we continue our deep dive into Discover Your Freedom. But for now, just consider this. If everything is energy and everything is changeable, what aspects of your life are you ready to transform by shifting your consciousness? What possibilities open up when you step outside the limitations of the matrix? We'll be back in a moment to delve deeper into these transformative ideas. Welcome back. So let's dig into some more of those practical tools from Discover Your Freedom that can help you actually shift your consciousness. I know we talked about meditation and expanding your awareness through peripheral perception.
Right.
But let's dive into the power of breath work for a minute.
Yeah, I've always thought of breathing exercises as just something you do for relaxation, like in a yoga class or something.
Sure.
But Beakers, she takes it to a whole other level. She really describes conscious breathing as like a direct line to your master consciousness.
That's what's so fascinating about it. This idea that just by breathing deeply and consciously, like all the way down into your pelvis, you can actually shift your energy and quiet that mental chatter that keeps us trapped in the matrix.
And she actually gives you some very specific breathing exercises to try in the book. One that I really liked involved gradually expanding your breath. So you kind of start from wherever you are and you slowly deepen and lengthen each inhale and each exhale. And as you're doing this, you're really focusing your attention on your inner body, really feeling that energy flow.
It's a way to cultivate presence and awareness, which are both essential for accessing that master consciousness within.
Exactly. And then there's another technique that she talks about that focuses on moving blocked energy. So with this one, you breathe deeply into your pelvis and then all the way up. Visualizing that breath, moving through your entire body, clearing out any energetic blockages that you might be feeling.
Oh, I like that one.
It's powerful stuff.
It is. And it's such a good reminder that your breath, it's not just about getting oxygen, right? It's like this vital force that you can actually harness to transform your energy and consciousness.
And then, beyond these individual techniques, Beakers also really emphasizes the importance of relationships in our journey toward freedom.
Hmm.
But it's not about like clinging to relationships for validation or security. It's more about recognizing how certain relationships can actually drain our energy and keep us stuck in that matrix.
Yeah, she really challenges us to examine our relationships with institutions, organizations, even certain places or material possessions.
Wow.
Like any relationship that creates that sense of dependence or obligation
Uh-huh.
can actually, fragment our consciousness and prevent us from tapping into our master consciousness.
And she even goes into like how certain types of communication can impact our energy. Like she points out that words themselves actually carry a certain frequency.
Oh, interesting.
So like emotionally charged language, it can reinforce those limited patterns of the matrix.
It makes you think, right? Like when you're constantly bombarded with negativity or drama, it's almost like you're tuning your energetic radio to a station that's just broadcasting fear and limitation.
Right. You're just absorbing all that negative energy. So it's about becoming more conscious of the energy that we're putting out into the world and the energy that we're allowing in.
Exactly. And that kind of brings us to another important point, which is the role of objectivity in our path to freedom.
Okay.
Because when we're constantly just reacting to external stimuli or getting caught up in the drama or clinging to fixed beliefs, we're essentially feeding the matrix.
So instead of getting swept up in all that chaos, we need to learn to observe things from a more neutral, spacious perspective.
Precisely. And it's not about becoming emotionless or indifferent or anything like that. It's about cultivating the sense of inner stability that allows you to navigate the world without constantly being pulled off center.
Right, right. And this reminds me of something else Beakers talks about, this concept of the path of least resistance.
Oh, yeah, I love that concept.
So it's about like aligning with the natural flow of energy, trusting your intuition, allowing things to unfold with more ease and grace.
Instead of, forcing things or pushing against the current or trying to control every outcome, we can learn to surrender to the flow.
Yeah.
Let go of the need to micromanage every aspect of our lives.
And then Beakers introduces this idea of like new energy versus old energy, which I found really fascinating.
Oh, me too.
So she argues that we're moving from this paradigm of scarcity and struggle to one of abundance and flow.
Yeah, it's a pretty radical shift.
It is. And it's not just happening on an individual level, it's happening globally. It's like humanity's collectively waking up from this long slumber,
Yeah.
shedding these old paradigms and embracing a whole new way of being.
But shifting to this new energy, it definitely requires a shift in our mindset, right? We
Yeah.
can't keep operating from those old patterns of fear, lack, and competition.
No, we have to upgrade our operating system.
Exactly. And Beakers actually suggests some really practical ways to align with this new energy. So instead of reacting with fear or anger, we can choose compassion.
Okay.
Instead of hoarding resources, we can embrace sharing. And instead of feeling powerless over things we can't control, we can choose to focus on what we can influence. She even uses this really thought-provoking example. She says,
Sure.
imagine sharing your material possessions with the same ease and openness that we share digital information online. It's a pretty radical idea,
It is.
but it really highlights that shift from a mindset of scarcity to a mindset of abundance. And it's not just about having more, it's about having that spirit of generosity and flow.
Right. It's a whole different way of being in the world. And it all comes back to that core principle of the book. You are consciousness.
And as consciousness, you have the power to choose what you focus on, what you believe in, and ultimately what reality you create.
It's mind-blowing when you really think about it, right? Like, we're not just passive observers in this reality, we're active creators, shaping our world with our thoughts, our beliefs, and our energy.
It's empowering, isn't it?
It is. And I think a little daunting, too. So then the question becomes, like, how do we actually harness this creative power in some practical ways?
Well, Beakers reminds us that creativity isn't just about artistic expression. It's a fundamental aspect of the master consciousness.
And she actually shares her own experience with art as a form of alchemy, describing how she uses painting to actually move energy, transform emotions, and bring her creations to life. It's like she's tapping into a source of energy that just flows through her and then manifests in the physical world.
And that's the key. It's not about trying to force creativity or control the outcome. It's about allowing that creative force within you to just flow freely, without judgment or limitation.
So true. And Beakers also talks about the importance of releasing, like limiting imprints from the past. She describes a technique called energetic past transformation. And with this one, you use your master consciousness to actually revisit past experiences and release any, negative energy or limiting beliefs that might be holding you back.
It's about recognizing that your past doesn't define you. You can choose to rewrite your story, shift your perspective, and release any energetic baggage that's no longer serving you.
It ties in so beautifully with the idea of quantum physics, where everything is energy and everything is changeable. You're not stuck with the reality that you've inherited. You actually have the power to transform it.
And speaking of tools for transformation, Beekers also mentions the use of flower remedies.
Oh, yeah. I've always been curious about flower remedies.
She describes them as catalysts for transformation.
Hmm.
So they help to bring balance to the energy system and create more space for the master consciousness to emerge.
It's fascinating to see them presented in this context of like shifting consciousness and tapping into our true potential.
It's about recognizing that we have this whole range of tools and resources available to us on this journey of transformation. And it's about finding what resonates with you and supports your individual path. And for anyone who's feeling inspired to go even deeper, Beekers actually dedicates a whole chapter to coaching.
Oh, nice.
And her approach to coaching is really interesting. It's not about giving advice or telling someone what to do. It's about guiding them to connect with their own master consciousness and discover their own truth. She emphasizes finding a coach who operates from their own master consciousness.
Okay, so someone who's kind of walking the walk.
Exactly. Someone who can hold space for transformation and empower you to step into your own power.
And it's about recognizing that you are the ultimate authority in your own life. And a good coach will just help you access that inner wisdom and create a reality that aligns with your deepest desires.
That's the goal.
Yeah. And that kind of leads us to one of the most, I think, exciting parts of Discover Your Freedom. It paints this vision of a future that's actually transformed by master consciousness. So we're talking decentralized structures, new energy sources, real focus on individual sovereignty and creative expression. It's pretty incredible to think about.
It's inspiring, right, to think that by shifting our own consciousness, we can actually contribute to a collective shift and create a more harmonious and fulfilling reality for everyone.
It really is. And as we kind of wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to leave you with this really powerful question from the book. If everything is energy and everything is changeable, what aspects of your life are you ready to transform by shifting your consciousness? What possibilities open up when you step outside the limitations of the matrix? We'll be back in a moment to continue exploring these transformative ideas. Okay, welcome back to our deep dive into Discover Your Freedom. We've really covered a lot of ground, from understanding the matrix to all these practical tools for actually shifting our consciousness. It's really gotten me thinking about what it means to actually live a life of like true freedom.
It is quite a journey when you really start to explore these ideas, isn't it?
It is.
And, one of the most powerful takeaways for me from Discover Your Freedom is that freedom, it's not something you find out there in the world. It's something that you cultivate within yourself.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Beekers makes it so clear that true freedom is like an inside job. It's about recognizing that you're not a victim of your circumstances, but that you're this like powerful creator. You actually have the ability to choose your thoughts, your beliefs, and ultimately the reality that you experience.
And that leads to another really important point, which is taking responsibility for our own energy. Because it's so easy to like unconsciously just allow our energy to be drained by all these external factors,
Yeah.
stressful jobs, challenging relationships, even just the constant influx of news and social media. It can be really overwhelming.
Oh, tell me about it. I know I've definitely been guilty of that in the past. For so long, I was just giving my energy away to all these things that weren't truly serving me.
We've all been there.
But this book, it really empowered me to see that I actually have a choice. Like I have the power to choose where my energy goes.
Yeah, and Beekers gives us these practical strategies for actually managing our energy on a daily basis.
Like what kind of stuff?
Well, things like taking regular breaks, practicing conscious breathing, being more mindful of the types of conversations that we're engaging in. It's about creating a more conscious and intentional relationship with our energy, rather than just letting it be dictated by external forces.
Oh, we become like the masters of our own energy rather than slaves to it.
Exactly.
And then one of the most, I think, exciting aspects of this whole concept of master consciousness is like the potential for collective transformation.
This is where it gets really interesting.
Beakers, she paints this incredible vision of a future where more and more individuals are waking up to their true power as creators.
It's like we're at this tipping point in human evolution where as more people shift their consciousness, it creates this ripple effect that impacts, our relationships, our communities, and ultimately the world at large.
That's powerful. It's inspiring to think that by just doing our own inner work, we can actually contribute to this like collective shift that creates a more harmonious and fulfilling reality for everyone.
Yeah, and it brings us back to that powerful question. What aspects of your life are you ready to transform by shifting your consciousness? What possibilities open up when you step outside of the limitations of the matrix?
It's not just some like abstract philosophical concept. It actually has real world implications.
Absolutely.
When we tap into that master consciousness, we become more empowered, more creative, more resilient when we face challenges.
Right. We start making choices that are actually in alignment with our true selves.
Yeah.
And so we create a life that actually feels authentic and fulfilling. And then as we're doing that, we inspire others to do the same. And it creates this like ripple effect of positive change.
It's like that whole pay it forward concept. So, as we wrap up our deep dive into Discover Your Freedom, I just want to encourage you to really contemplate, what aspects of your life are you ready to transform? What limiting beliefs are you ready to let go of?
That's a good one.
Creative potential are you ready to unleash?
Right.
What kind of world do you want to co create?
It's really up to us.
It is. And remember, you're not just a drop in the ocean, you're the entire ocean in a drop. And with that realization, I mean, the possibilities really are endless. So thank you for joining us on this incredible journey of exploration and discovery. Until next time, keep diving deep and keep discovering your freedom.